So last week on fstoppers.com, I wrote an article talking about the Canon EOS R5 and why I think that it's going to be priced less than $4,000. Now, if you think about it, less than $4,000 for a camera like the EOS R5 is freaking insane, because this camera is potentially going to offer some ridiculous features. We're talking 4K 60p, 4K 120, 8K RAW, full width of the sensor. That's just ridiculous specifications, especially when you consider that Canon's own cinema line of cameras are far more expensive, and some of them don't even offer any of these features. Now, obviously, cinema cameras, you know, different league and different kind of category, but still, in terms of raw video, the EOS R5 is potentially going to offer some mind-boggling features at a price point that's just insane. Less than $4,000, that's ridiculously reasonable. This week, Canon Rumors published some information on their website talking about why they also believe the EOS R5 is going to be priced at less than $4,000, and they gave this rumor a rating of CR3, which is pretty much a fact. Now, this doesn't mean that I'm right by any means, because no official numbers have been announced, but what I'm really interested in is the intention behind this, and if it is true, the implications of pricing a camera, or basically Canon lowballing the industry, really. So if you've been following the news and information and statements from Canon, then you'll know that over the last few months they've been quite the negative Nancy. I think one of the things that I remember them saying is that they believe the industry is going to shrink even further and sales of cameras are going to be reduced by 50%. That's huge, especially considering the fact that the industry has been shrinking over the last few years anyway. So a further 50% is just, well, it's a lot. And then we're also seeing companies like Nikon struggling, where they're talking about extraordinary losses, and their latest flagship update, well, a bit of a disappointment. I mean, it was like the most minor update possible, and it's like Pentax level update. It wasn't that great. And then we've also got Olympus, who are, well, they're struggling as well, and they're exiting the South Korean market. So we've got a lot of bad news about the industry, but Canon is going completely bonkers and producing an EOS R5 in such a shrinking industry. I mean, how does that make sense? Like, sales are going down, but they're like producing way better stuff, and everyone else is being quite reserved about this. Well, the reason why they're doing this is because they know that the only way, or I believe they know, that the only way they're going to survive for the long term is if they go full tilt on this. I mean, like, absolutely go on a freaking warpath, and that's what I think Canon are doing. I think Canon are being really smart about this, and they're realizing that the whole industry is shrinking, and they want the biggest chunk of that pie. They want to basically dominate the whole industry, and this time I think they're going for the jugular. They realize that the other competitors may not be able to do what they can. You know, Canon's one of the few companies, one, they've got the brand perception, two, they've got the resources, they're a huge company, and they can go out and invest and develop something far more effective than their competitors. And I think they're realizing that this is the time not to be reserved. This is not the time to try and play it safe, or, you know, hold on to your chips as much as you can. This is the time that you go all out, because they want the whole freaking market. The only company that I think are going to be able to compete with Canon is going to be Sony. And Sony, you know, for photography, they've done a lot. Like, they've released the A7R4, which is a brilliant camera in terms of images, but for video, they've been really, well, they haven't really done much. In fact, they haven't really offered any significant updates since 2015 when they released the A7R2. And if I'm being completely honest with you, video is a direction or an area where there's potentially more growth than there is for photography, because photography, it feels to me like it's plateauing in terms of the industry and the sales, but for video, it's not the same. I think video as an industry is going to be far more lucrative long term, and that's why I think the mentality that Canon has right now is no prisoners, no survivors. I think they're just going straight for the jugular, and I think they're playing this smart. The other companies, if they're going to be reserved about this, if they're going to like hold back, bad idea, because, well, the market's shrinking. You need to try and get as big of a piece as you possibly can, and right now I think Canon's going to win. So yeah, you know, the EOS R5, it's been announced. We don't have any information about the photography specs, but we've got a lot of information about the video. Potentially the best camera that's ever going to be released in a very long time. It's one of the most exciting announcements ever, and it's all potentially going to be priced at less than $4,000, which means that Canon, I mean, holy crap, Canon is potentially going to take over the whole industry. I don't think that they're going to leave any room for their competition. So yeah, I'd love to know what your thoughts are. I'd love to know what you think about the EOS R5 and whether it is going to be priced at less than $4,000. Do you think Canon is doing the right thing by basically throwing everything they can at this to try and get as big of a piece of the industry? Or do you think that, you know, companies like Sony are going to be able to compete? Do you think any of the other companies are going to be able to compete, or should they compete? I'd love to know what you think. Leave the comments below. I'll try and get back to you as soon as possible, and hope to see you guys in the next one. Thank you.